It was a
Well,
fun party.
it was really fun for me as well because I have known Brad ever since he's about the age that's Hannah's dad, Gail's son, and I've known Brad since he was just about the age that Hannah is now. So I got all
Right.
kinds of goods on him, you know. Our kids, our kids played together, and
Marilyn, didn't you and Gail go to school together?
we did. Gail has been a friend of mine ever since I was in grade 1. I think she was in grade 3. And
Wow.
Judy, thank you for your very kind words. It's a real pleasure to know you as well.
Aw.
And Sharon, I've known you, Sharon, for just about as long as I've known Gail. And it was Sharon who got me into Plan. And the story is she gave me a ride home from a meeting that we were at, and she started talking about Plan, and I said, "Hey Sharon, that sounds like a really neat thing. What kind of qualifications do you need to get into that?" Well, she says, "You need a social work degree, you need a degree in psychology." And she went on and on for a while. I said, "Well, that lets me out." She says, "Just kidding. Put your application in." Oh, dearie me. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
Marilyn, do you want to go next?
Oh, sure. So the person that I connect with is James. He lives in New Westminster. And the joy that we can share is he has begun investigating the process of what he will need to do a will. And we are in an interesting situation that people who know James, we cannot really do this for him because I'm going to say his disabilities are other than cognitive. It doesn't make them any less serious or important. But part of the reason that we're doing this is so that he can be in charge of the things that are happening. So I'm pleased to say that the process has begun, and we're keeping really close tabs on him. He's sending us information about what he's doing, and we are talking to him about the steps that need to be taken next. And it's really quite wonderful to see James taking charge of this very, very important situation about himself. Thank you.
So
It's
Marilyn,
beautiful.
you have been James's connector for a few years now, but you were
about
connected
20.
to Plan before that.
Yeah, I was. And let me see. One of the first people that I connected with, I don't know if any of you know the family, is Annette Kerr. And we worked together for quite a while. And
When was that, Marilyn? What year was that?
oh Lord, you had to ask me that, didn't you? I haven't got a clue. Early 2000s.
Oh yeah.
I think it was just after I got my teaching degree, my master's. I'm pretty sure, because that's how I ran into Sharon, because I was doing a contract for CNIB. And so there was Annette. And then, as it turned out, one of my students that I worked with, I was her vision teacher, was Lynn, and I helped facilitate doing a path for Lynn when she was in Plan, and maybe she still is. Anyway, you know what? There's connections everywhere.
Kidding, eh?
Oh yeah, and then there was Craig. I better see if I can catch up with him. I don't know what's happened with Craig. And I think Craig Harrington in White Rock. He always
I don't know Craig
the ends of the
Harrington.
earth.
River, do you know Craig Harrington?
It was a long time ago Craig was there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I'm old. What can I say?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
I didn't know that you had connected for all those people. Do you know that I work with Annette?
Oh, did you? Oh my
I do now, currently.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
After all these years of our friendship, it's weird that I didn't know that about you.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, you know, when I kind of was always reluctant to bring up any names for privacy concerns, so I never really did, but this is really good to know. And I hope that you will say hello to her from us.
I sure will. She lives really close to you.
Oh boy, all right. Then tell her I'm coming over for coffee.
I love that. Look, I was just thinking, why aren't you on our network?
Well, I was for a very long time. And I guess after that I was a mentor for a bunch of networks and met a lot of the people that we've spoken about here this evening. And it's a fun thing to do. And then when I started working full time as a vision teacher for Vancouver School District, I was in about 10 different schools every year, and I did several schools in a day, and I belonged to several music choirs and things like that. And I just felt I did not have time to continue an official position on plan. And that's when I started just working with James.
Mm,
And that was
Nice.
it. I just got really busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great to have you, Marilyn.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Nice to be here with everyone. I will put myself on mute.
Jen, are you there?
Yeah, I am. I've been trying to figure out how to get my video back for about the
Oh,
last 5 minutes.
I don't know if
Um,
anybody could tell that Jen does like wedding stuff.
Weddings, yeah. Sorry, just
She
by
does
my
wedding
name.
photography.
Yeah,
So,
so you know what I
and if
did
I
is
don't know if you could tell, but her wedding photography is really stylish too.
And unique.
I tried to log out of my wedding account and then log back into my personal account, but it was 7:30 and my 3-year-old was going to bed and I'm like, you know what? I'm coming as the wedding person today. So
Perfect.
but it's nice to be here with everybody. I connect with Garen Boutillier, who, as I'm sure you all know, is just a fantastic human being and great friend to so many. I have been connecting with Darren, let's see, I think 16 years. So yeah, it's been a while. It sounds like somebody's making popcorn and it's making me hungry. Yeah, and I was just actually listening to Marilyn and just being reminded of just like how many connections Darren has. And so we do one of our annual events is the Terry Fox Run every year. It's just near and dear to everyone in the network's heart. And he just like he goes and says hi to the mayor. He goes and says hello to the MC. He knows so many people doing the run. And I'm always just amazed of like just how many people he knows and not just in a hey, how's it going? But he might only see someone once or twice a year, but it's always just a huge smile and a handshake or a hug and so authentic, I think is probably what I get the most from Darren's network is just his authenticity, his trueness to himself, and that really draws people into him, which I admire. I wish I could be more like him in that way for sure. Yeah, it definitely gives us something to aspire to. So, yeah,
That's so
connections.
beautiful.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That's so beautiful, Jen. And it's absolutely the truth. For those of you who don't know Darren, I really hope that you get to know him because he really is an absolute, like, he never he's always just absolutely full of joy.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he can't fake it. He's just, it's so true and honest. And yeah, it's just really lovely. It's infectious for sure in the best way.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree, Jen. And I think Cindy can attest to that. Right, Cindy?
Absolutely. I really like Darren coming out with us on events, usually walks and that kind of thing, which his energy is really infectious for just getting out and trying stuff. And he's always got a smile on his face and a story to tell. And yeah, I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah, me too. Cindy, do you want to go next?
Yeah, might as well. I'm Cindy and I connect for Carol Thorson,
And
and
she's friends with Darren.
she's friends with Darren. So yeah, actually it's been pretty nice to have him coming out with us on the walks. Carol's been doing really well on her walks. That's one of her big priorities. And so we have a lot of fun going out on the walks, and Darren's been a nice addition when he can come. And if anyone knows Carol, there's always humor involved. So there's always some kind of comment coming. So I appreciate that about her a lot.
Yeah. She always really anything that you say she can turn into kind of a joke. Even when she's grumpy, she can
Oh, yeah.
make kind of a mean joke.
Yeah, sarcasm is her superpower.
Yeah. You're kind of like, oh, was that a joke or was
Yeah.
big? Well, I'm just gonna go that it was a joke.
Zing.
Yeah, lots of fun.
River?
Yeah, well, I just want to add to Carol because Carol is my good friend's mother's neighbor. And so when I went to Belvedere for the first time, she was hilarious. And she's like, "Oh, not you. You. I don't want to talk to you. I'll talk to everybody but you." And so
Yeah.
it's been quite unique in our relationships because I often see her. And the other day I was over visiting with Leela, her neighbor and my friend, and she says to me, she goes, "Oh, well, she's getting paid to be here." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not getting paid to come and visit you guys." It's hilarious. It's so funny. But anyhow, it's added a whole adventure into my world because I know Carol and I got to know Cindy thanks to Carol and got to be a part of their network for her birthday, and it was fun. Yeah. So, but anyhow, I've been with Plan since 1994. It's been a long go. It's a long lifetime. It's in my bones and my blood and all sorts of things. And I'm just, part and parcel of Plan. I walk it, talk it, and live it. So, so that's kind of fun. But I do have a lot of friends over here in North Van that I see, and Ed and Jim in Vancouver, who are near and dear to me because I've been connecting with them for a long time. But I really have the most joyous story, and it just happened today, and I'm so excited to share this. But I connect with Leo, and I think if you were at the AGM, you saw a picture of Leo and one of his network members. It was his birthday. It was his 70th birthday this week. So we went into his local hangout. It's end of the line in Lynn Valley. It's a beautiful place, and he's well known by the owner, and he's been going there for years and years and years. He's like a diehard. But in the last year, he hasn't been going as much because his mobility is a little bit iffy, and he had a lot of falls, so he's been a bit nervous. Anyhow, we went in to have a cup of coffee today, and the most amazing experience. So Connie is the owner, and her and Leo go back a long way. So she has a son named Jamie, and Jamie came up. Connie said, and when Leo comes to the store, every staff member, everybody says, "Leo," like a big celebrity is coming to the store because he hasn't been there long, often. So they're really grateful because he used to be going every day, and they're so grateful to see him. And Jamie and his wife have just become pregnant, and he told Leo today, he goes, "I just want you to know that if I have a boy, we're calling the boy Leo." I was just like in tears, and I'm like, it's only because it's such a beautiful story. It's only because his father's name is another Leon or Leo. They don't want to call him Leon, his grandfather's name. But what him and Leo contribute is their honesty to men. And that's why they're going to call their baby boy Leo. Because it's like, and I was in tears.
You're almost in tears now.
I know.
Honestly, honey.
And Leo was just like, he goes, "I don't know. I don't think so." I said, "Leo, it's a great," he was so overwhelmed.
I declined.
And the other part that was overwhelming is he couldn't imagine being a grandfather, just that understanding of being a grandfather. I mean, just in that act of being that age to be able to be a grandfather. So honestly, you never know where the miracles come, and you never know who's going to show up and be so profound in your life. And these are people that have watched Leo and contribute to Leo's life in such a huge way. And now he's a part of theirs, and he always has been. But if there's a little boy coming and it's baby Leo, I'm so excited. So, it's okay if it's a girl too, but it's just that act.
Leona?
Yeah, I know, that's what
God.
Leo said. She could be called Leona.
God.
Exactly. It really is. It's that longevity and that act of connection that's beyond anything we could ever imagine. And that's how we empower, and people empower each other. And I'm just so grateful. So
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
really, honestly, it was a very touching and joyful moment.
Mhm.
And we just were going to the doctors and out for coffee. And then it turned out to be this joyous, amazing, beautiful experience. So I had
Wow.
to share it. So
Wow,
thanks
River,
for
that's
bringing me
amazing.
here. Yeah.
And it's so like
pretty-
when you watch those kinds of relationships, like I always think about how, like I always say the glue of reciprocity, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that reciprocity is what holds me to plan, right?
Yeah.
Is that it's one of the surprising things that I've gotten from my journey with plan is that I didn't expect to find so much of a community for myself. You know what I mean? To get so much joy and friendship for myself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah.
and then once you've had that, it's hard to pull away, right? Once you've seen those relationships grow, and those relationships grow with the people that you support, and those relationships that you have manifested and constructed yourself. But I didn't realize that I was going to be a part of those relationships as well. And that has been such a huge joy to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
River and I have this really interesting relationship because my name is Rainey, as most of you know. I think all of you know. And River's name is River, obviously.
Yeah.
And people confuse us all the
All
time.
the time.
I mean, we both look like supermodels, and we
Yeah, of
both
course,
have
of
these
course.
kinds of foresty names. So they just mix us up all the time. And remember Marge Johnson?
Oh,
Every
yes.
time I would go over, she'd be like, "Is that you, River?" And
Yeah.
I just had to give it up. And finally I'm like, "Yes," because she just was never. And then we had a song, remember? It went something like, "Way down upon the rainy river."
River, that's right. Yes, exactly.
So we're kind of interchangeable.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you need River and she's not around, just call me and vice versa.
That's right, exactly. Chances are you'll catch her more than you'll catch me. But anyhow, that's beside.
We can
My life
just
is
sub out
settling
for
a
each
little
other.
bit, so I might be back on the track.
That's right.
Back on track.
Back on track.
Anyhow, lovely to be here, and absolutely lovely to see all of you.
Lovely to have you here. Catherine, would you like to introduce yourself? I think you are probably one of the only people that most of these people don't know.
Okay, hello everyone. So nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm new, I guess, as of April. So started integrating with supporting networks, in the last, since May. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So I support, I live in North Vancouver. And so I support a new member, Cameron, and that is super fun because everything is new and we're exploring. So yeah, I love the focus on gifts and discovery, and opening up opportunities for people. So I think with Cameron, in the summer it was bike riding. He'd had his bike sitting on his patio and hadn't been riding it for several years. It was getting rusty. So that was one of the things of getting connected with the bike shop in Lynn Valley. and just starting to just go for visits there and build rapport. So, it's just lovely to see these opportunities just open up and start blossoming. Yeah, I also support Christine Main. So many of you probably know Christine because she and her family have been in Plan for a long time. It was recently her birthday, her 45th birthday, and Christine is a poet and artist and whatnot. Her community is just a thriving, warm, loving, engaging community, and her birthday was actually September 7th, and someone in the house got COVID, so we had to do the pivot thing, and so we had a 1 hour Zoom that day instead. We had it booked anyways for just kind of some of the out of towners to be able to participate in the in-person birthday party. So we did a 1 hour Zoom, and it's something I don't even have to facilitate this network. I just create the opportunity, and it all just happens.
Yes.
So it's so fun to just sit back and see this kind of thing go on, where everyone is just sharing and just opening up their hearts, and just so there was poetry reading, there was music. It was just just a really lovely hour. And then the in-person party was this past weekend. Now I had the blessing of welcoming our grandchild. So we went out of town, and thank you, Megan, for jumping in and going there and decorating and whatnot and sending some pictures. But afterwards, just to hear the stories once again from the same network of all the beautiful things, like someone had the idea of everybody just putting a couple words of that describe Christine into like this hat, and then everybody just reached in and read them out, and then someone just said, let's write these words on a piece of art, and on one of her art, because she's has got some art pieces, and just there's this beautiful art, one of her art pieces with all these beautiful words on it. I'm just like, wow, like I couldn't even, like I didn't think of that. I wasn't even there. But it's just amazing to see all the things that just, it's so inspiring. All the things that just percolate out of these networks when you create these opportunities and these connections and things like that. So I think those are like a couple of my highlights. I also support Michael Whitman. So just getting engaged with Michael, because he's had a summer. He's just a busy guy. He's just a guy that gets around, likes to go places and do things. So I felt like I was chasing him all summer long. And I also support Sandra Roy in Richmond. And we've been going through some tender times there with Marilyn and the health of her mom, Marilyn.
Yep.
And I'm sure lots of you know this family as well. They've been involved in Plan. So I think my big win there is just that I'm welcome. I'm a part of the I'm welcome in her network. She calls me. She loves chatting on the phone. She calls me almost every day. So
Good.
So
that means you're doing a great job.
I'm in, right?
Yeah.
And you guys have gone for tea a few times too.
Yeah.
You're
And
really in.
Now she's asking, like, when are you coming back? Like, because she wants to get her iPad working and things. So it's just been really nice to have this warmth that just keeps growing and building and building. Yeah, it's just that's some of my favorite experiences. And then of course getting together with a wonderful team and we keep sort of nurturing and growing from that perspective as well. So yeah, it's just lots of favorite things.
Plan certainly is a soft place to land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With some big warm arms, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the mentor relationship with Nora Hinton, with Brianna. So that's also something new, and Brianna's doing amazing with connecting with Nora, so that's wonderful. And I also just today met Niall. So River, I'm so happy to see you today,
Yeah.
because they love you.
Yes.
So what movies were Niall in? He was in a movie, right?
He like
Um,
directed a
King
movie.
Arthur. He was in King Arthur, the play.
Okay.
King Arthur, and he did a movie. He
I
just
thought he
wrote a
did a
movie.
movie.
yeah.
He wrote and directed a movie.
hmm
Yeah, just this past spring.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's really
He's
into the
got a
theater.
lots
Yeah.
of things going on.
He's
Yeah.
got a lot going on. Exactly. We do need to talk, Catherine.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm making notes, and I'm like, it's okay. I'll figure this out. I'll figure this out.
You'll figure it out. As long as they like you, you're in.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure
Catherine,
you
do you feel like
passed
you
the
know what
test.
you're doing yet?
Well, I'm bumbling along.
I
You know,
remember when I started working for Plan, I think it was maybe a year or two in, and I remember my husband and I having the conversation where he said to me, "Do you feel like you know what you're doing at your job?" And I said, "Not really. I just feel like I'm kind of bumbling along."
yeah.
I said, "Do you feel like you know what you're doing with your job?" And he said, "Not really. I feel like I'm kind of bumbling along." And just a few days ago, I said to him, "Do you feel like you knowing what you're doing with your job now?" And he said, "Yeah, I do. Do you?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." I'm like, "It comes. It eventually comes."
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I also support Joan Gorman, and today I popped in. She let me in. I figure that's a win.
He let me in.
That's a win.
She opened the door.
Good job.
So far, so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. No, yeah. So I think I'm really happy all is going well so far. So yeah.
That word, that positive word thing, and make an art piece out of it is such a great idea. Sophie did something similar with
Yeah.
Barb's network.
Yeah.
And you know what else she did that I thought was really fun? Because Barb has a really like a network that she's had for a long time. We went around the room and everybody said how many years we've known Barb. And then she added it all up. And then she had this thing that said, "Oh, Barb, in this room is 700 years of friendship," or something. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And
wow.
it was really neat. That was a really good
hmm
feeling.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great idea too.
Yeah. I love those ideas. I'm stealing all those. I'm going to do it over and
Yeah.
over. Yeah.
Yeah. Megan, hi.
Mhm. Hi, everybody. So I'm
Hi.
Megan. I think I know all of you. I either bug you about your reports as they're flying in beautiful ways. I also have two mentors that I support. So Kat is one and Alita's another. Seven connectors, and they all represent about 35 of our members. So I have a lot of fun just like wondering, brainstorming with people where things are at and all about networks and connections. And then I also do pieces of advocacy as well in my work. So I get to, yeah, take on systems and bits and pieces every once in a while and really enjoy that work a lot. Um, and so, Kat, you shared Cameron's story, which is so fantastic. One of the things we wanted to talk about tonight was the idea of new members and sort of what those early days might have looked like for everybody. Um, so many of our members, there's intergenerational planning that's happening pretty much for everybody, all of us too, I think. Or there's, inviting new folks into networks, recognizing new people. People are ready to be back out and about it again in different ways. And so that idea of like newness, however that looks, as a new member, as a new network, as a new connection in community. So Kat had mentioned a little bit there about Cameron's rusty bike and just noticing. It was just a notice, huh, Kat? You're just like, yeah, there it is. And lo and behold, of course, it's North Van, right? There's a bike shop all over. But it's just become such an interesting way for Cameron to not just have a bike that needs maintenance or potentially a new one, but also connect with that biking community where there's a bulletin board, and of course we all know we love a good bulletin board. But there's people, right, who are bikers who will have the down low on which BMX bikes and which trails are available when and where. And so just really that power of observation as well. I am, and then we have another cool piece of sort of newness, but it's going to lead a little bit to like some of our stretch pieces to think about tonight, where we had our member Anya move from Vancouver, where she was living, of course, in a home share, out to living with her sister, niece, and now father in Mission. Of course, many of you know Anya. She's a fashionista. She's majorly involved in social justice, loves her time with friends. And through her network, she volunteers at a thrift store. She attends Aquafit. She's a member of the Mission Self Advocate Group and Special Low. What was missing though, so sometimes it's a little bit of like, okay, as the connector with it, when somebody has so much going on, like how can I add? What can I wonder about? And in this case, she was missing music and moments of reflection, deep reflection for her, and poetry. She's a poet. And here's the deal. She's always been a fan of going to church, but nobody in her family or her network was interested in going to church with her. And lo and behold, her connector, Trudy, who I know some of you have met and know, she figured out. She was like, all right, well, let's try my church, see how it goes, like if it's comfortable, right? It's one thing to think you might like it, it's nothing to give it a try. So they tried her church a few times and it was great. And then Trudy just researched like what the local community church could be that's with like in her neighborhood and might be comfortable. And asked around. She asked around. I mean, it's Mission, it's word of mouth, right? And so for the last, I think it's been 7 or 8 months, and it's only been part-time because every second week, Anya is still in Vancouver with her mom, Sandra. So it's only every second Sunday. They've been going. They've been going to their local community church. And it's been in the last couple weeks where Trudy has said that all of a sudden there was this moment where folks are now greeting Anya. They're chatting without Trudy having to kind of initiate, right, and prompt. And it's Trudy goes, it's the highlight of my week. I'm pretty sure it's the highlight of Anya's too.
Aw.
But she's getting, right? She's getting that music and she's getting those reflection, like a solid hour or two of that deep reflection piece she's been missing. So
Spirituality.
completely. Yeah. So stay tuned. Those folks will slowly be invited into network gathering pieces. But I love that idea, right? And we'll get to it in a bit, but that idea of if your person like moved, if they moved right now, like what would be those important ways, right, for them to be connected. Again, newness, right? I am. But over to you, Rainey, because I know you wanted to tell a little bit more of the deeper reasons, in particular, real deep reasons we do this work.
I'm Rainey. I think you all know me. I've worked for Plan for I think about 12 years. And so I know a lot of Plan members, and I have supported a large portion of the Plan members at some point or another. And so, thinking about, I think that what happens sometimes, that I have a couple of stories to tell, but I think what happens sometimes when you get into a situation where you have connected for the same person for a really long time, and you have these long work plans that you do where you have these pillar events every year, that you think you kind of know what's happening and everything's going to just happen along the same path, right? And you've done your community research, how many ever years ago that you started connecting for that person, and you kind of feel like it's done. And just recently, I've had this experience where this new community group. I don't even know how new it is, but I had been trying. I connect for a lady named Tara who lives in Burnaby. And Tara is a really challenging person to connect with and for. She just is one of the loneliest people I've ever met. She doesn't really have anybody in her life except for her family. And she's tried through like Edmonds Community Center and it hasn't been successful. We've tried Curico, we've tried a whole bunch of things. And just recently, it came to our attention about this Edmonds community group, this Edmonds Facebook community group. And it was a real reminder to me to look up from my work plan and look up from the things that I think I know what I'm doing and know how I'm doing and re-look at the neighborhood all the time, right? Because things are popping up. I mean, I find right now in particular that there are new things that are starting up in neighborhoods all the time, things that I'm totally blown away about. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was here. And it reminds me to keep on looking at what's available in communities, right? So this Edmonds Facebook community group, Edmonds community group, Facebook group, something, some combination of those words. It's sponsored by the United Way, and the woman who is the facilitator of this group, the clear focus of this group is to connect people. You know what I mean? So we're not joining anything where there's like, we're pretending we're making pots or art or dance or something, and that connection is a byproduct of that event. This is a group that is about connection, and it's done through a series of events that she hosts with neighborhood community people. She invites people in, particularly people from diverse cultures, to offer these food preparation courses that are free, that are 3 hours you go for 3 hours and they do this whole like presentation of the history of the food, the history of the culture. They have the food, they make the food, and then everybody eats the food. And it has been absolutely dynamic. There's people that have newly moved to Canada. There's people that's newly moved to the Edmonds area. There's me who doesn't live anywhere near the Edmonds area. There's a family there that has homeschools their kids, that takes them to every one of these as part of their homeschooling thing, right? Like, it's really an amazing experience. And Tara has felt included in her community and recognizes and sees people in her community, in a community that she's lived in for the majority of her life, that she didn't really know people in before. All of a sudden, she sees people that she recognizes in her community that she can say hi to. And she can go to these meal preparation groups on her own now because she knows that she can recognize people there and there'll be supportive people there when she gets there. Now, I've just gotten the heads up that they are starting another group in the Lougheed community, that the United Way has given this grant to these people in the Lougheed community that are going to be starting up this group. So, I mean, honestly, I'm very impressed with what the Goodwill is doing in terms of spreading goodwill. And it's been a huge connection piece for this lady, and I'm sure many other people in the community. The second story I wanted to talk about is a little bit of a sadder story. I had been connecting for a family for many, many years. I would say 11, maybe even the full 12 years. They were the second family that I started up with. And the whole time we had been talking about the parents passing, right? Because these conversations are the real heart of really what we're doing, right? Is that peace of mind. Part of our work is to talk about what's going to happen when people die, right? And so we had been preparing for years for the eventuality that the parents were going to pass away, and the son, who is quite medically and physically fragile, right? What kind of care he would need and how we would be able to support him moving forward without his parents in the picture. In the spring, Todd, the doctor had come in and wanted to fill out all of these forms, kind of making plans for end of life. And we were all kind of taken aback a bit because he's in his 40s. He's not near end of life. Within a few short months from that, I don't know whether, the doctor just knew something but Todd got a bad infection that went on and on and on and spread. And Todd passed away a few months ago. And while Todd was going through that process, he just, he had one infection after another, and finally he spiked this super high fever, and his parents took him to the emergency, and the doctor came out and said, just, you need to give me some information about this guy because he was so complex. And Glory, his mother, was able to pull out this binder that we have been working on for the last 11 years, right? With all of the information about him, all of the information about her, it had everything in it that you could possibly want to know about the family. The idea was that we would have this book when the parents were gone, right? To use to support Todd. And in fact, we ended up using the book to support Todd as he was, the people who were looking after Todd as he was going through this process, right? And the doctor was totally taken aback and had no expectation that she would pull out this binder, right? And so the work that we put into that network to plan, literally, we had been planning for death for the last 11 years. And Glory has said to me, this weekend, we're having a little service for him. So actually, Todd had specifically said that he didn't want to have a service, but he has this huge, huge group of friends, huge group of family, that when we were really feeling at loose ends, that we didn't have a place to join together and be together, and talk about Todd and share stories. And so we decided we would obey Todd's wishes and have a birthday party for him. So we're having a birthday party for Todd this weekend. It was his birthday yesterday. And so Glory called me up and she said, Rainey, if it's even possible to have, she said, I just want to thank you so much for giving Todd a peaceful death. And when you think about death, that's not one of the things that comes to your mind. I bet it comes to River's mind. But it was really a beautiful process. And the work that we had put into it, the hours and hours of conversations we had about it, when it all came down to it, he had a peaceful death. So the work that you're putting in is not only about the fun stuff, the birthday parties, the joy of friendship. It's also about making preparation for, when they're making those other passages. So I just wanted to put that out there, that the work that we're doing is really important. It's not just birthday parties. It's way more than that. But moving on, sorry to be a bummer. I just thought it was really apropos, particularly with his birthday being yesterday and with this party coming up on the weekend, and how meaningful this process has been for me.
And Rainey, what's his favorite music, and what are you guys pouring?
So Todd is a huge Def Leppard fan, and his song is Pour Some Sugar on Me. So he had yeah. So yeah, when they were placing him in the ground, they all were wearing their Def Leppard t-shirts, and they played the song, and they had some sugar, and they sprinkled it all around. I'm like, so you'll know where to find Todd's grave. It'll be the one where all the wasps are. So as we were talking about earlier about relooking at your community, I'm going to backtrack here. And I'm going to ask you guys to think about, Megan was telling the story about Anya moving to a new neighborhood. And one of the ways, I do the connector orientation. So one of the things that I like to talk about during that connector orientation is that when you are connecting somebody, imagine what it would be like for yourself, or imagine the experience that you had yourself of moving to a new community or moving to a new city, and what that felt like, and how you went about making the friends that you have in your life, and the community that you have, and the connections that you have. For me, that has been a huge learning and teaching piece, right? When you think about those arenas in which, and it also is an area where you can say, okay, well, those kinds of things don't work. I tried this in my own life and that didn't work. So I'm not going to spin my wheels trying that for somebody else, right? I know that when I am trying to make friends, the places that have worked for me have been places where you see the same person over recurring times, right? So your work, your school, the dog park, places that you go where you're seeing the same people over and over again. I want you guys to think about if your member or one of the members that you support was moving to a new community, how would you help them prepare for that move? And how could you start to get them connected in that new community? And then think about that in terms of each one of your members and where they live now. Imagine as if they were moving into that community as a brand new community. How would you go about looking up from your work plan and looking in your area, the new area, as if it's a brand new area? I'm just wanting to go around real quickly, and we just have about 5 minutes left, but just getting some ideas of ways that we could be looking around in our communities as if they were brand new. Does anybody have any ideas on that one?
It's Marilyn.
Hi.
Well, this is one of the things that we experienced with James when he had a move. And one of the things that we had done then, it was quite a while back, was to try and acquaint him with all the advantages of moving into the area he was moving into and the things that he could do, the kind of activities he could be involved in, the places.
So Marilyn, you would have had to research that stuff though, right? To be able to acquaint it with him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And just, the things that, and taking into account what his challenges are that maybe for other people, typical people living in that community, they wouldn't have those challenges, and finding workarounds. And it's worked to a degree, but in listening to what you've been saying, Rainey, I've kind of in my little head taken it a bit of a step further and thought, well, with all the technology that we have now, like Google Earth and all the places where you can look up a restaurant and look up a store, I think we could really start building models in the minds of our plan people who are having to move, so that when they get to their new place, there are some familiar things that maybe they've seen, maybe they've heard about, or maybe they've even had an opportunity to go and visit. Because I think one of the more difficult things is the strangeness and the loneliness. And I mean, it's not always easy to solve this problem because different people have different levels of desire to communicate with other people. And I wish I did, but I don't think I have the right to say, come on, let's get out there and have some fun, because everybody has their own attitude about how they feel about things like this. Everyone's level of self-confidence and their interaction skills are different. So I think in addition to helping someone to become familiar with their environment, the other thing that we can do is to try and provide them with some skills that they would need to adjust to the new environment. And it would be something like conversation skills, having some role playing about, well, I'm moving today and I'm really scared. What can you say to me to help me and to give me confidence? Because I don't have a choice here. It has to happen. And just try to sort of think about it in those terms. Anyway, that's enough talking out of me. Thank you.
Thanks, Marilyn. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Jen, I know you are often looking at new things in your neighborhood for Darren, in Darren's neighborhood for Darren.
Yeah, we're often so a lot of the time when Darren and I get together, we're often kind of, searching the internet. Darren and his girlfriend Terry, one of their big resources is the library. Just in terms of what's happening new in the community, what's happening at the library. There's often lots of groups, lots of interactive opportunities. Um, and I think really taking into consideration the person's likes, I think sometimes it's hard to take ourselves out of the equation, and just really meet people where they're at. So that's kind of one of the things that I try and just keep in mind every time I'm, kind of chatting with Darren or his network members. What are the things that Darren likes? And it's easy in a sense because when it comes to active, outgoing things, he's pretty much always into. So in that way, it's kind of good for him in terms of finding new things, especially if they fit those two kind of components. Additionally, he's super, outgoing and easy to talk to. So, or even talk with or have a conversation with. So those are nice things too, just in terms of his skill set. But yeah, we're often looking for new and exciting ways for him to meet people, really get out into his community.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's right on, Jen. I
And
think the library is a great place.
yeah.
Community center.
Yeah. Him and Terry though, and they don't just do like one library. They do the libraries from Burnaby to Maple Ridge and every library in between.
Wow.
Yeah,
Didn't know that about
they
Darren.
get on the buses and yeah, well he goes downtown, he goes to the main branch often to rent CDs because obviously he's
Right.
like collection in the Lower Mainland. But yeah, he knows all of the libraries, I think probably in the greater Vancouver area, and would be so excited to go to a new one and kind of see what they offer. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jen. I just want to add in here too, one of the things that I talk about in the connector training that I do that I think is really important is like the things that I'm talking about during that connector training are things that I have when I was started off as a connector, things that I have learned over the years that have been super valuable. And so one of the things has been, particularly post-pandemic, I would say, that if you're in a new neighborhood, you're connecting for a new person, or even if you're connecting for a person that you've been connecting with for a long time, and they have something that they want to get involved with, walking, dancing, I mean, name it, book club, movie club, dance, I mean, whatever. There are other people in that community that are also interested in doing that, right? And getting back to that glue of reciprocity, if you are trying to connect the person you're connecting with other people who are wanting friends, those connections are more likely to stick, right? Because if two people are wanting to be connected, it's great to connect them together. So if you look in your neighborhood and you don't see those kinds of groups that your person is wanting to get involved with, make your own. People will come. Put up a sign in the coffee shop that you always go to, right, River? Put up
Yeah,
a
we
sign in
did
the
that.
community center, in the library, right, Jen? Put it where people are and where people will see it, saying you're starting a book club, a movie club, a dance club, a bowling club, a dinner club, like whatever
walking
club
club.
you can think of. And you will get people, particularly post-pandemic, who are wanting to connect with people again in person. You're going to get people that come out 100%. So if you don't find it in your community, create it and people will come for sure. Now, just to wrap up here, we're at 8:32. Does anybody have any burning questions or anything that they want to get off their chest right now before the end of the call? Next month, when we are meeting together, Megan is going to be talking about community mapping. So that will piggyback nicely off of this Zoom. So is there anything that anybody would like, any clarification or anything before we wrap it up today?
It's Marilyn. I have a comment. first of all, I want to say, River, I loved your story and it's so wonderful to see you again. It's been quite a while.
It's so great to see you too, Marilyn.
Thank you very much. And Rainey, I want to sincerely thank you for the time that we have spent together. I so appreciate you being around and checking in with me and that I can talk to. And we have so much fun together. And I want to just say, I feel like we're friends and it's a real privilege to know you and to work with you.
Wow. You couldn't have finished that off any better, Marilyn. I'll give you that $20 next time I see you.
All right. No, make it 10. That's good enough.
That went just as we'd planned. Thank you so much, Marilyn. That means a lot. I really, really appreciate that.
And it was so nice that you and your beautiful daughter Kira came to Gail's party. And
Wasn't
oh
that
my
nice?
gosh, it was great. They were doing dishes and playing with the dogs and doing all this
Dancing.
stuff. Yep, it was just so much fun. So thank you.
Have a wonderful night, everybody. What a joy
Yeah.
it has been to be together tonight. Looking
thanks
forward to
for
next month.
everything.
Nice
Thank
meeting you
you.
all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good night, all.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Judy
Thank
gets
you.
the gift card.
Oh, Judy.
Oh,
You drew your
Hey,
name. You're getting a
Judy.
gift card. Yay,
I'll
Judy's
pop
it in
gonna
the
take me
mail
out
for
for
you.
coffee.
okay.
Congratulations,
Hey, now.
Judy.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye everyone.
No expectations, Judy. No
Bye,
expectations.
everyone.